Welcome to Whistleblowers in partnership with Wix Trade Pro. Welcome to Whistleblowers. This is the bonus ball, your extra little bit on the side with Mark Clattenburg, Ian Ladyman and me, Gordon Smart. And today we also have Katie Shanahan, who's stuck around for another job. Do you ever have any time off?
I'm going to have a big nap after this.
Big
My
nap.
full 90-minute nap.
Yeah. The problem is
that a nap or probably a sleep?
That's a night's sleep for me.
Can you speak to our sleep expert here and napping correspondent?
He's currently
I've been
napping.
caught napping a few times.
Yeah, literally in the press box, I believe.
Have I ever fallen asleep in the press?
Yes, you have.
Yeah, he said, watching Arsenal.
Not last night. Not for Atletico.
Yeah.
No.
I was once on a pre-season tour to America with Man United. I think it was Louis van Gaal. I think it was the last United tour I did. And one of the United press pack that I was a member of at the time had a little bit too much white wine with his lunch. And we were the game was at the Pasadena place out of LA. Can't remember. It's
The
called
Home Depot Stadium.
Sorry?
The Home Depot Stadium.
No. It was out of LA. The Pasadena Rose Bowl, was it?
Right, yes,
anyway, it doesn't matter. It was a car journey. Okay, and our colleague, who will remain nameless, slept all the way in the car and slept through this was before the days of kind of digital kind of live running match reports. Slept through most of the first half as well.
It's time for me to confess about one that happened in my career. So I managed to persuade the editor that it would be sensible for me to go to LA for the world premiere of a film called Stardust.
Oh, yeah.
He's Take That did the main song, Rule the World, I think it was, and Sienna Miller was in it. I think Jonathan Ross's wife had written it. Anyway, I persuaded them I should go to this. I enjoyed myself a wee bit much on the way there. Got off the plane. It was a long flight to LA. Went to the premiere, sat down, fast asleep.
Oh, no.
Jet lag though.
Jet lag.
Awful jet lag.
What was the review like?
Woke up as the credits
Best
were
thing you
rolling.
ever wrote.
5 stars.
Woke up to the credits rolling and a message from the desk saying, "Are you going to file?" I was like, I've absolutely no idea at all what happened in the film.
So what did you do?
To this day, I've still not seen it. I asked somebody who was sitting near me to tell me what it was like.
Well, who was that? John
Can I
DeRoss's
take
wife.
your copy,
John DeRoss's
please?
wife.
It was Jonathan Ross.
It's amazing.
It was Jonathan Ross. Well, you do film 2006. You know what this is all about.
Can you remember that fan? Champions League final, Chelsea.
Yes.
Munich. Friend of Munich. And it was like, he drank so much. Yeah. And they saw him sleeping. That was what was bizarre. They saw him sleeping before the game. So he's fast asleep. And he's sick. And then they panned in on him near I think it was when Drogba scored. And he still hadn't moved. He's missed the whole of the Champions League final.
Showing my age, and I don't care. I was at was it Spain quarter-final of Euro 96 against Spain at Wembley.
What happened in that tournament again? Was that England? Scotland.
England had a fine tournament. Beat Scotland on the way. Anyway,
yeah.
I was there as a fan behind the goal at the old Wembley before the Spain game, and my friend and I noticed that there was a chap about 4 rows in front of us who was asleep before the kick-off. Clearly had too much sunshine, too much beer on Wembley Way, and he was asleep. And when the teams came out, the roar, and that was obviously in the days before kind of Free From Desire and all the rest of it, just had the crowd. The roar from the crowd as the players came out woke the guy up from his slumber. He woke up. His immediate response was to vomit all over the head of the bloke sitting in front. And there was no gravy on this story. This is what happened. Vomit all over the head of the bloke sitting in front of him, and was immediately removed by security.
I hope he wasn't a big lad in front of him.
How was your day? How was your day out at Wembley? Yeah, it went pretty well.
Apart from the last 2 podcasts you've been involved in, have you slept through any important moments in your career?
I actually have. Yes, it was actually recently. Well, the Euros quarter-final between Germany and France. We got to the 80th minute, and it was my one day off at the Euros. And I was like, oh, right, husband, let's go along to a game. And I had a few too many tiny little chubby beers. Just showing how much
of husband.
Just showing how much of a lightweight I am, moving swiftly on. And I just passed out in the seat. And then I remember the crew being like, I can't
During the
believe
game?
during the game in the 80th minute. And then it went to extra time, and luckily I woke up. But I was just enjoying myself. I'd finally had a day off at the Euros. You know how long those tournaments are. I'm like a month on. Had a few chubby beers.
Chubby beers.
And I was enjoying myself, and then I woke up for the extra time and penalties.
Well, Mark, a few people have said you've slept through some significant moments of football matches.
I did yesterday in the first half at Arsenal. Only joking.
I want to talk about the passage of time on the podcast today, and I wonder, Katie, as well, if this is something that you noticed. But there's a horrible moment where you see somebody's date of birth, and you're like, I'm old enough to be your dad, and it's not a million miles off where I come from in Scotland, old enough to be somebody's granddad. But it was fascinating when Jesse Derry made his debut for Chelsea for a number of reasons. I think he had a really good 40 minutes, with terrible injury as well. But imagine having all your family there. Sean Derry, who played, I think it was over 500 appearances, wasn't it, and for a number of clubs. But it was one of those moments where we are seeing the next generation coming through. The Fletcher brothers making their debuts for Manchester United, the twins. I think Patrick Kluivert's son, doesn't he? Has a great little career already, hasn't he, at Bournemouth? There are a few coming through.
And you, Sean Day.
So there you go.
Yeah.
When I my first football reporting job for the Nottingham Post, covering Notts County in the mid to late 90s, Sean, and they were a struggling League One team at the time. They got relegated. Sean was playing in the centre of their midfield.
Yeah.
Young midfielder, one of the better players in that team. Went on to do very well at Portsmouth. Mm-hmm. A good player and a very nice lad. One of those guys who, our paths only crossed back then for about 6 months. I have bumped into him since, and he remembers me and says hello.
Amazing.
And that does make you think. I remember interviewing Jermaine Genius when he first started doing punditry post-career, and saying to him, "This ages me, Jermaine. The last time I saw you were playing youth team football for Nottingham Forest.
Wow.
And here we are talking at the back end of your career. Goes fast."
Yeah. What about you, Katie? Are there any that have really given you the sense of the passage of time?
Probably the other week, actually. I remember this is a bit of a throwback, Jake Coopers from Millwall. He's the Millwall captain at the moment. I remember doing his first interview at the club. And sitting down, and he was quite shy, and we had a lovely little kind of sit down at the training ground. Neil Harris was manager at the time, and then literally the other week, he's been there for 10 years now, and then I was presenting him with the Player of the Season award. So it was quite a nice full circle moment, and I was like, I remember doing your first ever interview, and he has a mullet now. I was like, I tell you what, you did not have a mullet back then. And it was really nice. We had a nice little cuddle, and I gave him the trophy, and it's just nice to see kind of the growth of the player and the person that they've become.
Because Ashley Young's just retired, right? Ian's favourite
from
player.
Ipswich, yeah.
But there was a chance, wasn't there, where he could have played in a match against his son.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Which I thought was a remarkable
Peterborough.
moment. Yes.
Yeah, that was...
It never happened, though, did it?
But then he didn't bring him on.
He didn't bring him on in the last few minutes.
Should
Even
have
though
done.
Everton
Darren Ferguson could have brought him on, didn't, and all the fans wanted it, but he was going for the win. But they were 2-0 down.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, just bring him on for history.
It would have been nice for... Yeah.
It's for the FA Cup, wasn't it?
Bit of history made there as well. Mark, did you ever have a moment like that in your career where you were like, I cannot believe that person was born?
It was interesting because I remember, because I was really young when I started refereeing professional football, and I used to look at the team sheet and I was hoping that somebody was younger than me.
Yeah.
It was. You look at. I used to be obsessed with dates of birth, and it would never used to happen. But if you think there was I remember players that I would referee youth football, and then you'd see them in the professional game, and now you see them in punditry. So you see the full circles, and even I remember, and I told the story. I was refereeing in the 2011. It's 15, 16 years ago now in Colombia in the Under-20 World Cup. And I was in the semi-final, Brazil-Mexico, and there was a young Casemiro.
Wow. Brilliant. That's what we're looking for.
And he couldn't speak any English.
Yeah.
And we communicated by body language. And he was one of them players where I think he engaged with me quite quickly, because I could manage players quite well, and I knew when to manage them. And he quite liked my personality. And we shook hands at the end of the game. He gave us a cuddle. They went on to win the final. I didn't have anything to do with the final because I'd done the semi-final. And a few years later, I was at Real Madrid, and I never thought anything of it. You've got all the stars. You don't look at the bench of Real Madrid. You look at the first team. You've got Ramos, Ronaldo. There was a full list of stars. And a young player came off the bench, and I listened, and it was Casemiro. And I'm thinking, Mamma mia, that's the Casemiro that played in the under-20 World Cup.
Yeah.
And he came over to us straight away and he shook my hand.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, that's incredible that he can remember that brief relationship that we had, and he clearly wanted to keep the relationship going. Not because he was too young to manipulate us, not like some of the superstars used to do. He didn't have that in him. And I remember coming off at the end of the game, and I'm walking down that side of because if you remember the Bernabeu, there was the fence in between and I always went out with the away team, always came back with the home team. Not stupid. Not stupid. So I'm coming up that side, and Casemiro's waiting outside my dressing room.
Oh, wow.
And as I'm waiting outside my dressing room, he said, "There's my shirt."
How nice is that?
And I thought, wow. And it always stuck in my head. And to have that, even though he was a young boy, the respect, and we grew. And I never got the chance to referee him in the
You got a chance to send him off.
No, I wouldn't have.
It's always worth trying to keep those relationships alive as well. And sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't. And it didn't for me with the senior Haaland. When I was covering Man City and Man United back in the day, I was covering City when Alfie's when he finally gave in to the knee injury and finally retired. And I can't remember how it happened, but I managed to cultivate some kind of relationship with Alfie towards the end of his career, and it involved the occasional text messages from me, which he would sometimes answer and sometimes wouldn't, which to me was counted as a relationship. But he did, I remember, he did stand up for me, the story that I'd heard he was going to have to give in to the knee, obviously the keen tackle, etc. And I remember I was at a Man United Champions League game away from home, and I remember I got a text back from him during the game saying, "Okay, and it is true." I remember writing the story that night that he'd had to give in, and then just kind of thought, "Oh well, that's the end of Alfie Haaland." Then never need to be in kind of friends with him again. Man. Wouldn't be the worst contact to have now, would it? Erling Haaland's father. Wouldn't be the worst in the world.
It's amazing we're talking here, isn't it, from past, but everything was relationship driven, wasn't it? That we don't see as much that now with the young, maybe the younger generation, especially with refereeing.
Yeah.
But all of mine, I remember, we've had these conversations before. One of my favourite players I used to referee was Vincent Kompany, because of his personality. He was fair. I sent him off playing for Belgium in Israel on the Wednesday night, and they were playing in the Manchester Derby on the Sunday, and I could have sent him off in the first half. He got injured, he got substituted, and after the match he came to us and he went, "God, you could have sent us off twice in a week." I'm thinking, you're one of the nicest guys in the world, And we had a laugh about it. In 3 years, I retired in 2017, so it was about 2 years later. Yeah, 2 years later. I'd been to Saudi 2 years, then I was in China. I remember I was in China. I get a phone call from his agent, "Mark, Vincent wants you to referee's testimonial." And I thought, wow, he's got all of these people he could choose, but they're asked me. And that goes back to
nice touch, that.
the relationships, doesn't it? And I couldn't referee because I was in China, but it was just nice to be asked the respect that
I think in football, the most important thing is relationships, whether it's with players. I think there's also a massive responsibility down to journalists when it's in those moments, whether it's post-match interviews or just interviews in general. There'll be certain topics that, for example, I will always say to a player, I remember doing, I think it was, Bukayo Saka when he signed a new deal. And I was like, by the way, I'm going to ask you this question. It's going to be on your contract. You can answer it however you like, but just a heads up, this is coming. And as a player, you're like, thank you. Okay, at least I know. And I was like, you can answer it however you like. I think there's also a responsibility on journalists. I think sometimes, and I struggle with this, if, say, another journalist, they've been stung by another journalist, they'll just loop us all in together. And I'm like, hang on a minute, that hasn't come from us. I've looked after you all these years. We've known each other. I know you've had a bad experience, but please don't treat the rest of us.
I've had a few terrible ones.
Do you know what I mean? And sometimes I'm like, no, everyone is different.
I had a really awful
to harness those relationships.
Pharrell Williams about that.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, he was like, the guy that really annoyed me was the Sunday Times. It wasn't you.
It wasn't the Sun. It wasn't the Sun for once. For once.
Right, before we dive back into the football, we're in partnership with Wix Trade Pro.
Tradespeople, you want to listen to this bit.
Absolutely, because being a Wix Trade Pro member saves you money.
You can save 10% every single time that you shop in store or online. There's no minimum spend, no hassle, just savings.
Brilliant stuff.
On top of that, if you've got a big job coming up, lads, and you need to buy a load of materials up front, with Wix Trade Pro, you can now buy now and pay later. Powered by Billy. Pay interest-free within 30 days or 60 days and track your payment status easily through your Trade Pro account.
That's not all. You can click and collect within 15 minutes. And for even trickier jobs, order online or in store for delivery within 3 hours.
Blimey.
To sign up and start saving, just download the Wix Trade Pro app today. Billy offers unregulated credit agreements, UK businesses only, 18 plus, subject to status, T's and C's, and late fees apply. I tell you, a mad one for me with an emerging star that you just think, wow, this is incredible to be involved early on or have a conversation. I bored these boys with this before, but I wrote Vinnie Jones' book, right? So I spent a lot of time with him in LA, and he was getting a tattoo from a guy called Michael Malone, really famous tattoo artist in LA. And I went and sat with him for ages because he had to be there for so long. It was a great chance to speak to him and get him talking. And a girl came in and we got chatting away, and she was getting a little tattoo on her finger. And she went, one day you're going to be writing about me because I'm doing my debut album here. I'm from Barbados. And I was like, yeah, I've heard that a million times before. She got a little gun tattooed on her index finger. Do you know who it is yet?
I was going to say, is it like Rihanna or something?
It was Rihanna.
What? Wow,
yeah,
really?
She said, you might remember my name, it's Rihanna. And I was like, yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, of course I will. A girl getting a tattoo in LA that's
With a
recording her
gun
debut
on her
album. But she was great crack.
Yeah.
And I remember, and not long after that, before the album came out, she came to London and I went bowling with her.
Went bowling with Rihanna.
Yeah. And I mean, God, how many #1 albums and singles she's had, how many sold out tours. She's got 3 kids now, I think.
You haven't got a
Life
matching
has been
gun
lived.
tattoo?
I didn't get a matching gun tattoo, no. I just
Are you
got,
trying to do that for the Arsenal? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, they'll gad, yeah.
But it is weird when that happens and then suddenly, you know, people are retiring or like moving on to the different stage of their career, you know?
Yeah, I think for sons in famous fathers' shadows, I think the main thing that they need to do, obviously they will be compared. I think there's an argument to be said that they do get fast-tracked ahead of lots of other people. But then how do they separate themselves from their fathers, come up with that individuality? And like we've seen with Erling Haaland, you know, we kind of speak about Erling Haaland before his father, potentially. You've got Kasper Schmeichel, doesn't live in kind of Peter Schmeichel's shadow anymore because they've been able to kind of work hard, put the performances in and go, actually, I really want this. So I think it comes down to hard work, but also separating yourselves from their shadow.
The Kasper Schmeichel thing is a really, really good example. I remember Kasper telling me in an interview I did with him a couple of years ago before he left Leicester about when he grew up, he was anti-football. Because for him, football was just something that took his dad away. But also meant that when his dad was there, and they were driving in a car away from Old Trafford after a game, there were people banging on the window, and he said, for me, that was, why would I want to be part of that? But then when he grew older and he realised that he had a talent, and he came through at City, they absolutely got it wrong, the Schmeichel family back then. I remember hearing stories of Kasper playing for City's reserves, as it would have been then, not under 23s now, whatever. And the team would travel on a bus and Kasper would go separately. Peter would take him separately. Just absolutely the wrong look. Or would take him home again afterwards. Absolutely the wrong look. But they obviously learned from that and they got it right, because what a career Kasper's...
I remember him as a Dundee player.
Gone on
Kasper.
to have...
Yeah,
great career,
Leicester.
and it's turned out to be, you know, he's a smashing lad, Kasper.
Yeah.
And absolutely got out from his dad. He absolutely got out from his dad's shadow, didn't he?
He certainly did. There are a few. Imagine being Zidane's son didn't have the best fortunes, did he?
Well, even the Beckhams, they both tried.
Romeo
but
was at Spurs, wasn't he? I think, or Arsenal.
yeah,
wasn't it?
we had Romeo in a Virgin because he was doing his new album, and so we all was in Chris Evans' breakfast show and kind of watching. And was like, oh, Romeo Beckham. This is on the week that the whole Brooklyn Beckham. So I was like, which Beckham's in? This would be interesting. But it's interesting because even when the David Beckham documentary, you can see they've got a football pitch in the garden, and clearly David's tried really hard with his sons, but deep down it's got to come from within. That hard work and the determination, you can't force that onto a child. So I think even if you do start out, you know, being son of, it's got to really come from you.
Yeah, there's a great quote, isn't there? David spoke about Brooklyn. I think, didn't he? One of my boys came to me the other day and said, "Dad, I'm not sure I want to play football all the time. Every time I go on pitch, people say, that's David Beckham's son. And if I'm not as good as you, it's not enough."
Yeah,
hard, that, isn't it?
You'll always have that, wouldn't you?
I asked Nigel Clough about it. Obviously, not management more than playing. Last times with Nigel, I asked him about, was being Brian's son a blessing or a curse in terms of his career. Nobody wants to change their father, but in terms of his career, and Nigel was quite circumspect on that because he can't win answering that question, can he? Really? But he was essentially said the best way I always describe it is that when I grew up, Mike Yarwood, the great impressionist, was doing impressions of 6 people back then. 3 of them are prime ministers, 2 of them are world famous film stars, and the other one was my father.
Yeah.
He said that was my life growing up, and he said I'll leave you to try and work out what occasionally that felt like. But if you're Brooklyn Beckham, or if you're Zidane's son, or if you're Kasper Schmeichel, you can't go into that career ever hoping to emulate your father, because you're trying to emulate genius. These guys are not just good footballers; they're at the absolute top. So I suppose you just have to find a way of realising that your achievements are still achievements.
Yeah, I suppose
in
the
their
two,
own right.
the kind of children that everyone's going to be looking at is Cristiano Ronaldo's kids and Messi's children. Now, I remember being out in Qatar. There was another day off, and we decided to go out on the sand dunes. You could go on the kind of in Land Rovers and driving around. Anyway, I didn't realise all day until an Argentinian fan comes over to me. We're kind of by this fire pit, and there was some kids over in the far corner, and everything was private all day, but I hadn't really clocked on to what was going on. And it was just before Argentina's quarter final. And anyway, the Argentinian fan goes, they're Messi's kids over there. So all day I'd spent my day sandboarding with Messi's children. They were just a couple of yards to my right. Amazing. And 3 of them, the 3 little boys, and they were there with the mum, and then obviously, guards as well. And I just think, gosh, for those kids, everyone's going to be thinking, you're the next Lionel Messi. So there's huge expectation on them, and they might not even like football.
When my son was born, the midwives were laughing because the family before us had called their son Cristiano Ronaldo McDonald, and his brother was Enrique Iglesias McDonald. So I wonder if those Ronaldos will go on to do wonderful things.
How's that gone for them at school?
Yeah, I know. I tell you what, though, and again, these boys will roll their eyes, but my father-in-law is the last Dunfermline player to score a winning goal at Ibrox in 1972.
Oh,
right?
wow.
And my nephew, who will be Teddy Leishman, just signed for Dundee United, and I am hoping that he will score a winning goal at Ibrox. This just shut his granddad up. I've had it for 30 years, honestly. It would be great if he stole that record from him. Right, thanks very much, everybody. Katie, lovely to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
I think it's safe to say you're welcome back.
Thank you, I've really enjoyed it.
If you want to come back, that remains to be seen.
And good luck in the World Cup.
Thank you. Well, I'll speak to you down the line.
Yeah, we'll definitely.
You're not going to be in the same place as Mark?
No, you're out in LA, and I'm bouncing around Canada, Mexico, and America.
Is that where you're going to be based?
Yeah, doing quite a lot of Canada, yeah.
Keep as far away as possible from Clattenburg and Los Angeles.
It'll only be carnage.
How tanned are you going to be when you get back from LA? By the way? I mean,
the same colour as the World Cup.
I'll be lying on my sunbed tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I might top it up a bit.
Oh, dear me. Ian, what are you going to do to get yourself whiter than that couch you're
We're just jealous, that's why.
Yeah.
Ian's turning the same colour.
Skin cancer is not funny, guys. That's all I'm going to say. Skin cancer is not funny.
The translucent Ian Ladyman. It's a tan off a Kindle.
That's how it rolls, Katie. We've been sitting here for 2 hours. We started being rude to me 2 hours ago. He's finished being
He's just had to bookend it.
It's just nice to feel like I'm back in a newsroom where nobody's safe.
Somebody needs to whip.
Excellent. That's the end of this then. Please email us whistleblowers@dailymail.com. Mark, do the honours. Thank you very much for watching Whistleblowers. Remember, there are new episodes every Thursday and Tuesday, so don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for even more content. And follow us wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode.